Good day, everyone. I'm Sir RG Leeson, your math tutor and guide on this exciting journey through the world of numbers. In this video, we will discuss all about solving quadratic equation by factoring. Some quadratic equation can be solved easily by factoring. To solve such quadratic equation, the following procedure can be followed. First, transform the quadratic equation into standard form if necessary. Second, factor the quadratic expression. Third, apply the zero product property by setting each factor of the quadratic expression equal to 0. Zero product property: if the product of two real numbers is 0, then either of the two is equal to 0 or both numbers are equal to 0. Number 4, solve each resulting equation. And number 5, check the values of the variable obtained by substituting each in the original equation. Example number 1, we have here, find the solution of x squared plus 9x equals to negative 8 by factoring. So since this one is not yet in the standard form quadratic equation, we need to transform it into the standard form. So we need to add both sides by 8 so that the right side will be equated to 0. So we have x squared plus 9x plus 8 equals to negative 8 plus 8. So we have x squared plus 9x plus 8 equals to 0. Factor the quadratic expression x squared plus 9x plus 8. So we have here, so when factoring class, so we just need to remember that in the last term, you need to pick, for example, we have x squared. So that means the factor for that is x and x. So the two terms now we need to find. So when you add the two terms, you think of two numbers. No, when you add it, it will result to positive 9. And then if you multiply it, it will result to positive 8. So we have here x plus 1 and x plus 8. Since 1 plus 8, we have 9, positive 9, and 1 times positive 8 is positive 8. So we need to apply now the zero product property by setting each factor equal to 0. So we have x plus 1 times x plus 8 equals to 0. So we have here x plus 1 equals to 0 and x plus 8 is equals to 0. Solve each resulting equation. So we have here x plus 1 equals to 0. So we need to isolate x here. We need to subtract both sides by 1. So we have x plus 1 minus 1 equals to 0 minus 1. We have x is equals to negative 1. Next, we have x plus 8 equals to 0. Same here. We need to isolate x. So we need to subtract 8 both sides. So the result is x is equals to negative 8. And then check the values of the variable obtained by substituting it to the original equation, which is the x squared plus 9x equals to negative 8. So let's try for x is equals to negative 1. So we have negative 1 squared plus 9 times negative 1 equals to negative 8. Negative 1 squared is 1. 9 times negative 1 is negative 9. So we have equals to negative 8. So 1 minus 9, we have negative 8 equals to negative 8. So that means x is equals to negative 1 is a solution for x squared plus 9x equals to negative 8. Now let's try x is equals to negative 8. Substitute it to the original equation. We have negative 8 squared plus 9 times negative 8 equals to negative 8. Negative 8 squared is 64. So we have 9 times negative 8. We have negative 72 equals to negative 8. 64 minus 72, we have negative 8 equals to negative 8. Both the values x satisfy the given equation. So the equation x squared plus 9x equals to negative 8 is true when x is equals to negative 1 and x is equals to negative 8. That means this equation has two solutions, which is x is equals to negative 1 or x is equals to negative 8. Let's try example number 2. Solve 9x squared minus 4 equals to 0 by factoring. So to solve this one, since we have already in the standard form, So we need to factor 9x squared minus 4 equals to 0. So the factor for that is 3x plus 2 and 3x minus 2 equals to 0. So we have here, equate each factor to 0. So we have 3x plus 2 equals to 0 and 3x minus 2 equals to 0. So we need to solve each resulting equation. So 3x plus 2 equals to 0. Subtract both sides by 2. So we have 3x plus 2 minus 2 equals to negative 2. So we have here 3x is equals to negative 2. To isolate x, we need to divide both sides by 3. So we have 3x over 3 equals to negative 2 over 3. So we have x is equals to negative 2 over 3. Next one, we have 3x minus 2 equals to 0. Add both sides by 2 so that we can isolate x here. So we have 3x is equals to 2. Divide both sides by 3. So we have x is equals to positive 2/3. So to check if the values obtained by substituting each or substituting it to the original equation, which is the 9x squared minus 4 equals to 0. So let's try for x is equals to negative 2/3. So we have here 9 times negative 2/3 squared minus 4 equals to 0. So we have negative 2 squared is positive 4, 3 squared is 9. So we have 9 9 times 4 over 9 minus 4 equals to 0. So we can simplify this one. We can cancel 9 and 9 here. So the result now is 4 minus 4 equals to 0. That is 0 is equals to 0. Let's try x is equals to positive 2/3. So let's substitute this one to the original equation. So we have 9 times 2/3 squared minus 4 equals to 0. And then 2 raised to 2 is 4. 3 raised to 2 is 9. So we can simplify this one. So we have 4 minus 4 equals to 0. That is 0 is equals to 0. That is both values of x satisfy the given equation. So the equation 9x squared minus 4 equals to 0 is true when x is equals to negative 2/3 and x is equals to 2/3. That means this equation has two solutions. That is x is equals to negative 2/3 or x is equals to 2/3. Example number 3, we have 9x squared minus 3x is equals to 0 by factoring. So to factor this one, so we need to find the common term for 9x squared and 3x, and that is 3x. So we can factor that one by 3x times 3x minus 1. Since 3x times 3x, that is 9x squared, and 3x times negative 1 is negative 3x. So we have now, let's factor or let's equate this one to 0. So 3x is equals to 0 and 3x is equals minus 1 is equals to 0. So let's solve for the resulting equation. We have 3x equals to 0. Divide both sides by 3. So we have x is equals to 0. While the 3x minus 1, add both sides by 1 to isolate x. So we have 3x equals to 1. Divide both sides by 3. So we have x is equals to 1/3. So the roots of the quadratic equation ax squared plus bx equals to 0 are x minus x is equals to 0 and x is equals to negative b over a. So let's just check if the values obtained are true by substituting it to the original equation, that is 9x squared minus 3x equals to 0. Let's try 0. So we have 9, 0 squared minus 3 times 0 equals to 0. So 9 times 0 minus 0, that is 0 is equals to 0. Let's try x is equals to 1/3. So we have 9 times 1/3 squared minus 3 times 1/3 equals to 0. So we have 9 times 1 squared is 1, 3 squared is 9. So simplify this one, we can cancel 9 and 9. So and then this one also 3 and 3. So we have 1 minus 1 equals to 0. That is 0 is equals to 0. Both values of x satisfy the given equation. So the equation 9x squared minus 4 equals to 0 is true when x is equals to 0 and x is equals to 1/3. And this solution has two solutions, that is x is equals to 0 or x is equals to 1/3. Example 4. Find the solution of 7x squared plus 18x equals to 10x squared plus 12x by factoring. So we need to transform this one into the standard form. So we need to subtract both sides by negative 10x squared and negative 12x so that we have 0 in the right side. So we have now 7x squared minus 10x squared, we have negative 3x squared. And then 18x minus 12x, we have positive 6x equals to 0. Now, we need to factor the quadratic expression. We can factor this one by positive 3x times negative x plus 2 equals to 0. Since 3x times negative 3x, negative x, that is negative 3x squared. And then 3x times positive 2, that is positive 6x. Apply the zero product property by setting each factor to equation equal to 0. So we have 3x is equals to 0 and negative x plus 2 equals to 0. So we have now 3x equals to 0. Divide both sides by 3. We have x is equals to 0. And then negative x plus 2 equals to 0. Subtract both sides by 2 to isolate x. So we have negative x equals to negative 2. Since we need to have a positive value of x class, or the x must be positive, so we need to multiply both sides by negative 1. So that we have x, positive x, so that is x is equals to 2. So let's check the values obtained is true. We just need to substitute the given our value of x in the original equation. So let's try for 0. So we have 7 0 squared plus 18 0 equals to 10 raised times 0 raised to 2 plus 12 0. That is 0 plus 0 equals to 0 plus 0. So we have 0 is equals to 0. Let's try 2. So we have 7 times 2 squared plus 18 times 2 equals to 10 times 2 squared plus 12 times 2. So we have 7 times 4 plus 8 times 2 equals to 10 times 4 plus 12 times 2. So we have 28. 7 times 4 is 28. 18 times 2 is 36. 10 times 4 is 40. And 12 times 2 is 24. So we have 64 equals to 64. That means both of the values of x satisfy the given equation. So it is true when x is equals to 0 and x is equals to 2. So there are two solutions for this one, x is equals to 0 or x is equals to 2. Now, if you are my student, so this will be your assignment, and you need to submit this one in the next meeting. So we need to factor then solve the following quadratic equation by factoring and answer the question that follows. So we have number 1, x squared plus 7x is equals to 0. Number 2, 6s squared plus 18s equals to 0. Number 3, 4s squared plus 9 equals to 12s. And then number 4, 81 minus 4x squared equals to 0. So all you need to do is you just need to follow the steps in our previous examples from 1 to 4. And then you submit this one in next meeting. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you've learned something out of the lesson. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have comment, you can comment down. Thank you so much everyone, and goodbye.